Hello everybody. If you want to read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. The idea for this story was suggested by a user on freefortalk.com. Short story 781, The Mischievous Gremlins of Willow Lane. Intermediate. One quiet evening in the small village of Willow Lane, strange things began to happen. Mr. Thompson's old bicycle, which he left outside his shop every night, was suddenly missing its front wheel. Mrs. Patel found her garden hose tied in complicated knots, and poor Mr. Evans woke up to discover that someone had swapped all the sugar in his kitchen with salt. The villagers were confused and a little annoyed. "Who is playing these silly tricks?" they asked each other. Nobody had seen anything unusual. But high up in the old oak tree at the end of the lane lived three small gremlins named Flick, Spark and Twitch. They were no taller than a teapot, with pointed ears, bright green skin and eyes that twinkled with mischief. For many years they had lived quietly, watching the humans and laughing at their serious routines, but lately they had become bored. "Let's have some proper fun," said Flick, rubbing his tiny hands together. "Yes," agreed Spark. "Tomorrow night we will visit every house and leave a little surprise." Twitch giggled. "And nobody will catch us. We're too quick." The next night, when the moon was high and the village was asleep, the gremlins crept down from their tree. They moved like shadows, silent and fast. First they visited the baker's shop. Flick climbed onto the counter and poured a whole bag of colourful hundreds and thousands into the bread dough. In the morning the bread would be full of bright spots. Spark found the postman's red bicycle and painted the wheels bright purple with a tiny brush. Twitch, the smallest and cheekiest, sneaked into the library and turned every book upside down on the shelves. By the time the sun rose, the gremlins were back in their tree, tired but very pleased with themselves. The village woke up to chaos. People laughed when they saw the spotted bread. Children cheered at the purple bicycle wheels, but the librarian was not amused. "Who turned all my books upside down?" she cried. "This is not funny." That afternoon the villagers held a meeting in the village hall. "We must find these troublemakers," said Mr. Evans, still grumpy about his salty tea. "We cannot let this continue." While the adults talked, a clever girl named Lily listened carefully. Lily was 10 years old and loved stories about magical creatures. She had noticed tiny green footprints near the oak tree that morning. That evening, Lily waited near the tree with a small basket of biscuits and a glass of cold milk. She sat very still under the branches. After midnight, she heard soft giggles above her. "Hello," Lily called gently. "I know you're up there. I brought you something to eat." The gremlins froze. They had never been spoken to before. Slowly, Flick climbed down. "How did you know we were here?" he asked, surprised. "I saw your footprints," Lily replied, "and I guess you were the ones making all the mischief." Spark and Twitch joined them. They looked nervous. "We're only having fun," Twitch said. "We don't mean to cause big problems." Lily smiled. The villagers like to laugh sometimes, but they also like things to work properly. Maybe you could help instead of playing tricks. The gremlins looked at each other. "Help," said Flick. "What do you mean?" "Tomorrow the baker needs to fix his oven door. The postman wants his bicycle back to normal, and the librarian would love her books the right way up again." The gremlins thought for a long moment. "All right," Spark said finally. "We'll fix everything, but only if you promise not to tell anyone about us." "I promise," said Lily. The next night the gremlins worked hard. They oiled the oven door so it closed perfectly. They cleaned the purple paint from the bicycle wheels. They carefully turned every book the right way up. In the morning, the village was peaceful again. The baker's oven worked better than ever. The postman smiled at his shiny red bicycle. The librarian found her books neat and tidy. Nobody knew who had fixed the problems, but everyone felt happier. High in the oak tree, the gremlins sat together, eating biscuits. "That was actually quite nice," Twitch admitted. "Yes," Flick agreed, helping feels better than breaking things. From that day on, the gremlins still lived in the old oak tree, but their mischief became small and harmless. A flower in someone's shoe, a feather in a windowsill, and sometimes late at night, Lily would leave biscuits under the tree, and in return, she would find a shiny pebble or a perfectly folded leaf on her doorstep. The village of Willow Lane stayed quiet and content, with just a tiny touch of magic that only a few people knew about. Vocabulary notes. Mischievous. Adjective. Meaning, behaving in a playful way that causes trouble or annoys people, but usually not in a serious or harmful way. Example, the 3 small gremlins had twinkling eyes full of mischief. Similar words. Naughty. Slightly bad or disobedient, often used for children or playful behavior. Cheeky. Rude or playful in a funny way, often showing no respect in a light-hearted manner. Crept. Verb, past tense of creep. Meaning, move slowly, quietly and carefully, usually to avoid being seen or heard. Example, the gremlins crept down from their tree when the village was asleep. Similar words. Sneaked. Moved quietly and secretly, often to do something wrong or surprising. Tiptoed. Walked very quietly on the toes, usually to avoid making noise. Chaos. Noun. Meaning, a state of complete confusion and disorder. Example, the village woke up to chaos when they saw the spotted bread and purple bicycle wheels. Similar words. Mess. A situation or place that is untidy or confused. Confusion. A feeling or situation where things are not clear or understood. Amused. Adjective. Meaning, finding something funny or entertaining. Example, the villagers were amused when they saw the bread full of bright colourful spots. Similar words. Entertained. Enjoying something that keeps you interested or makes you laugh. Delighted. Very pleased and happy about something. Content. Adjective. Meaning, happy and satisfied with what one has or with a situation. Example, the village of Willow Lane stayed quiet and content with just a tiny touch of magic. Similar words. Satisfied. Pleased because something is good enough or meets your needs. Peaceful. Calm. Quiet and free from worry or trouble. Story written by Grok4. Image created by onemin.ai. To read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, Drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.